don't always remember to do that. So I'm just going to pat myself on the back there. So this recording will live on in infamy, just like any other summer touch-in recording. So again, we're just getting folks in here. Okay. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. So my name is Kim. I'm the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library, and I am here with my co-workers, Matt Giza, who works for with the Library for the Blind, who now lives under the umbrella of the Division of Library Development, and Brad Bullis, who handles all of our digital resources, ebooks, audiobooks, databases, and all of that. And so what this session is today, I am going to touch base on some traditional summer reading-y things, the theme, a few things about the report. And I'm gonna talk for my little bit, and then we'll take some time for questions for me if anyone has any clarifications. I'll probably be referring a lot of people to the frequently asked questions page and past videos that we made last summer. We made about 3 of them, and the information hasn't really changed. Then I'm gonna turn everything over to Brad, who's gonna talk about digital resources and digital access that your patrons may want to have access to this summer. I know my family just got an RV, and we are really e-booking and audio booking the live long day away this summer. And Matt, through the Library of the Blind, has a ton of resources that a lot of us, myself included, are still learning about, that a lot of your patrons, more than you may think, will want to access and be able to benefit this summer when we're kind of like, flocking with patrons. So I'm gonna start a screen share for me. And we're gonna touch base on a few summer reading-y things. So, summer reading info session, here we are. So this year's summer reading theme is Read Beyond the Beaten Path. It is a Camp iRead theme. We did move from CSLP to iRead this year. What does that mean? For you all as library patrons, not a ton. Changes were made for administrative back-end reasons. We also were really inspired by the fact that iRead is very verbal, by their support for outcome and impact-based programs. A lot of you who watched my summer reading webinars from last year, and I think I even did some in the fall of 2019, I talk a lot about wanting to move away from output-based information, how many minutes, how many pages, how many books, how many days, into the impact and outcomes of library summer reading programs. Are your patrons benefiting? Are they finding help in the library? Are they enjoying themselves? Do they feel welcomed? That type of information is really valuable when it comes to evaluating the types of services that libraries are offering over the summer, particularly with regards to youth when the kids aren't in school, and youth departments may be flooded with patrons that they don't normally see during the school year. So it's like a camping-y theme. So because of that, the Connecticut State Library has partnered with DEEP, the Connecticut Department for Energy and Environmental Protection. We've also got something going with Sparkler. We just did a workshop with them the other day. The May Children and Young Adult newsletter that's going to come out May 15th is our summer reading edition. If anyone is not signed up for those newsletters yet, the primary DLD newsletter, which comes out the 1st of every month, and the Children in YA, which comes out every other month on the 15th, I really, really suggest you do that. We don't spam you. Like, it's really just like one newsletter a month, and every other month you'll get 2 of them. But camping theme, you don't have to do the iRead theme. I get that question quite a bit. If folks prefer to do oceanography, if they prefer to make up something of their own, if it's your town's like bicentennial and you kind of want to work within that, we really encourage you to do so. The information and the things that we put out from DLD, they're not mandates. their suggestions, and we've kind of put together information to try to help those who need and want it. But you do not have to follow tooth and nail with what we're doing. You are welcome to be as creative as you have want for, and to organize a summer program that best suits your community's needs, whatever they are. And I didn't put a slide in here on Read Squared because Read Squared is year round. I know in 2019, Read Squared was kind of launched with summer reading, but Read Squared has nothing to do with summer. It is a year round program that can be used for winter reading, for 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. So you're not going to see any information here about Read Squared because it's not summer specific, but a lot of folks sent emails when they found out that we moved to iRead, wondering if that meant that Read Squared was going to go away. Nope. If you liked Read Squared and if you used it, you can still use it. CSLP, iRead, or other, it doesn't matter. So the summer report. So for those of you who were around last summer, we changed up the summer report a little bit. I've updated all of the summer reporting information. So the 2022 form, the 2022 instructions, and the 2022 deadline is all here on the reports page. All summer reporting materials due the first Friday of October. We have given you until October because there are some people who told me that they do summer programs until earlier mid-September, and we want to give you time to go through your data and put it all together in a cohesive manner. So for those of you who do run longer summer programs, the summer reporting is not due until October 7th at 4 o'clock because we leave at 4:30 and I want to have everything in before we sign off for that weekend. The report structure is still the same. It is in an Excel spreadsheet. For those of you who remember from many years ago, it used to be via SurveyMonkey. We stopped doing that because having an Excel spreadsheet allows for longevity because you keep your results as opposed to SurveyMonkey where they kind of like disappear into a void. You're also able to track whether you sent information to me because mistakes do happen and sometimes, you know, I lose things in the email minefield. So the summer reading reports page has everything that you need. We are doing the patron survey again, the same way we did last year. So to make this perfectly clear, I know it's still new. This is only the second year that we are doing this. I, at the state, will willingly accept any summer reading data that a library would like to turn in. Libraries do not have to submit summer reading data. They do not have to submit the patron survey. It is not a requirement by any shape or form. We would really like the information, not only to paint a more detailed picture of the Connecticut summer reading program and Connecticut Library's impact on summer reading. And we in turn submit this information to IMLS because it's with IMLS funds that we purchase things like the iRead like reporting pack, like we pay for all of that with IMLS funds. So the rule of thumb is we can only provide libraries with the iRead manual or the summer reading manual, whatever program that may be, if we have received a complete report, because IMLS needs to know what we're doing with their money. They're giving us the money, we're reporting what we did with it. So we can only give that summer reading manual resource guide to the libraries that have submitted a complete report. And by complete report, that means everything in the Excel spreadsheet, which includes the patron survey. So if someone submits their numerical, how many programs, how many attendees information without the patron survey, without even an attempt to collect 2, 3, or 4 patron surveys, I will take that and I will be happy for it. But that's not a complete report. So we can't in turn release the next year's iRead manual. That's not our rule, that's an IMLS rule. So it's just kind of like the unfortunate sort of facts and just sort of what happens when we're dealing with federal funds. So I will continue to reiterate this throughout the entire summer. We're coming into the time frame where I'm just kind of blowing up people's emails, just saying the same thing over and over with regard to the report, because I know things get lost. People can't watch recordings, people can't attend workshops, but that's sort of the way that it is. So a completed report includes the patron survey material, and that's to get the following year's resource guide. You do not have to submit this. We want people to do what works best for them. We want communities to have what works best for them. You don't have to do this, but we would really, really appreciate it. We are really interested in looking at the state as a whole, because then that in turn allows me to provide the best continuing education and support to you all that I can. But again, it's completely up to you all. There are, like I said, 3 videos from last year that walk through this report step by step by step by step. So we're not going to do it again today. But who knows? Maybe we can have another one. One of the biggest changes this year, and it's not a huge deal. I think it's really cool, but I mean, it's sort of like you do with it what you will. Copying Maria, which is something that I'm making a real big habit of. If Maria's done it, I'm probably going to do it too. We've created a data report collector. So a goal that we have is to collect the same exact summer reading material for years and years and years and years and years, so we can have some longevity data here. So we've created a data report collector, which if we go back to the summer reports page, you can see it's right here. It's its own little tab. And what this does is you click on the little box here and you find your library. And then you're going to get an Excel spreadsheet like what you see below, and it provides 2021's information to you. And when 2022 information is submitted, that's going to be there too. This is helpful for a couple of reasons. You can see the changes in your summer program year by year in one spot. So you're not opening a plethora of Excel spreadsheets. Everything is going to live in one organized chart that grows every single year. But this will also serve as the answer to the question, did I submit my report to you? So if you go and find your library and there's no data, I didn't get it. Or maybe I made a mistake. If you know you did, email it and we can correct that. We have a lot of situations where turnover is happening. And I've had a multitude of librarians reach out to me asking for the last few years of summer reading data so that they can make educated decisions about purchases of incentive material and things like that. Having a report collector like this allows you to have that information at your fingertips without sort of waiting for me to be able to compile it and get it to you. This chart will be updated every single year. So, there will come a time where we can look at this and every town will have 10 years worth of summer reading data that all lives in one organized space. Come on, I believe in us. Just wanted to do a quick reminder again for anyone who might be new. Like, I don't know if anyone, sort of knows of us. Matt, Brad, and I all work at the Middletown Library Service Center. So we're not up at the State Library in Hartford. We're at kind of like a little satellite office. And we in here, I'm looking because I can see it through this like little glass wall. We provide a ton of stuff that I think can be a really big support to some of you over the summer, depending on what type of programs you're offering. For libraries that are maybe hoping to do a couple of book clubs, maybe get through some of the new Nutmeg titles this summer, we offer book discussion sets. We offer really oversized, big books for anyone who's planning to do story times outside. Those are really great for visuals. Felt story time kits where we give the giant pieces and the rainbow fish and all the little scales. We offer all of those. We send them through the Deliverate system. We send everything out for anywhere from 30 days to 3 months, depending on what it is. You can send it back to us through the Deliverate system. And the most important part of all of this is it's free. We don't charge fines, overdue fines. If something gets lost or damaged, we don't charge libraries for that. The Middletown Library Service Center is a library for libraries. So, treat us the way that you would treat yourselves. Do the best you can if something gets lost or damaged, but we don't have a blacklist up here. We're not kicking any of you guys out if something were to happen to something. But for folks who are planning to, organize programs or anything for youth and adults, we have adult book discussion sets up here as well. And I think adults love STEM items just as much as kids, and we've got a whole host of those. Please remember that you can reach out to us and use us as a resource to supplement and build collections that perhaps you otherwise couldn't build for yourself because of finances, or maybe you want to give something a try in your community first before turning around and buying it. Just a reminder, we've got stuff up here too. And that's literally it. Just like a quick overshot, because I'm not the only one talking today. Yep, did I stop screen sharing? I think I did. So I am going to allow participants to be able to unmute, and I'm going to give a few minutes if anyone has any questions about the children's summer reading surveys. Like I said, there's like tons of videos. But if anyone has any questions just for me, Chrissy. Hi, Chrissy. How are you?
Hi, Kim. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What can I do for you today?
I was wondering about that data report creator. Can you only look at one library at a time, or can you do like for a region?
You one at a time is the way that it
Okay.
is currently set up. I hadn't thought about a regional thing. I can see if I can work with Maria to create something like that, because it's actually a really great idea. But at the moment, it's one library at a time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's a great question. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? I'm scrolling through the sides in case anyone's raising their real hand. I don't see a real hand. So the chat is always open. So if someone thinks of a question later, please feel free to toss that in the chat. I'm not going anywhere. But I'm going to turn it over to Brad, who's going to talk about digital resources and digital access that might be useful to some of y'all over the summer.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim. Can everybody see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up. All right. Let me get it tabletopped. All right. So this is really a pleasure to be here today. I see some friendly faces, folks I've had friendships with and worked with before. So it's really exciting to see everybody. Again, thanks for having me, Kim. So I'm Brad Bullis from the Connecticut State Library, as Kim said, and I oversee the EGO-CT program, which is our ebook platform. So what I get to do today is talk to you about content that we purchase and we deliver it through the Palace Project app, and it's free. So I'm trying to get you to use stuff that's free. I have a good job when it comes to that. Basically what I do is I'm given resources to purchase databases and ebooks and fun stuff like that. And then I try to have you use them. And again, at no charge to you. So that's kind of a good thing for me to be able to do. So as I said, the EGO-CT program is our ebook platform. We use the Palace Project app for you to utilize the content. All the state content is available there. It's not available anywhere else. We currently have 21 libraries that are utilizing the app. We haven't really officially launched it, but if your library is interested in going live in the Palace Project, we've configured 164 libraries already. So your library is probably configured, and all you have to do is email me and let me know that you want to go live, and you'll be able to access this content. And so Kim is really good about telling me what children and YA titles to purchase, which is a huge help when it comes to collection development. So if Kim tells me to buy it and it's available, I buy it. So public libraries, like I said, can join anytime. So reach out to me and let me know if you want to join the program, and we'll get you set up and going. So obviously we have purchased the summer reading titles. So, I'll just have some pretty pictures here for you. And obviously it goes from K through 2. We have a bunch of selections, grades 3 and 4. 5 and 6, grades 7 and 8, and then of course high school. So everything that we could purchase, we purchase. And when it's in ebook format, we purchase that. If it's in e-audio, we get that as well. And then we also get it in Spanish language if it's available. So I check every title to see if it's available in Spanish language, and if it is, we grab it for you. So, you know, there's a lot of content. There's the summer reading list, but there's also All CT Reads. Now, we purchased all the titles for All CT Reads, which those titles to me are exceptional. They're a great collection of items that your patrons may be very interested in. Now, the good thing about this is we've worked through the Digital Public Library of America to, and with the publishers, to get multiple copies for you to use. So simultaneous use is available. Each one of these titles, we have the ebook available, 25 copies, and this is something that you know, it's not just 25 uses, it's multiple uses. So 25 copies can be checked out, returned, checked out again, returned. So there's many opportunities for people to access these titles. So this was probably our best and most robust piece of the collection, and it does tie into summer reading. So feel free to utilize those titles. Once we're still working to get some of the e-audio content added in, and that's DPLA working with the publishers to get an agreement. Once we have that, I'll have a spreadsheet that I'll post on the services and collections page of our LibGuide, and Kim may drop it on her page as well. So we'll have that up for you once we finalize all of that. It's still a little bit of a work in progress, but all the ebooks are there. We're just working on the e-audio. So another list that we got, Kim forwarded me a list from the Kid Governor, who is an awesome kid. I can use the term kid, I guess, since he's the Kid Governor. And he gave us a list of some great titles. So Kim ordered the print copies. I went through and ordered all the ebook and e-audio, and then Matt for LBPH went through and ordered what he could order. So we have a good collection of these items contained, from my perspective, in the Palace Project app. So you can take a look at those. They're great titles, and definitely of interest, I think, for summer reading as an option. The other thing that we purchase are the nutmegs. So as soon as they come out, we're working. It's always a little confusing to me. Right now we're on nutmeg, the picks for 2023. I know it's only 2022, but we're in 2023 somehow. So, but we've been able to get all of these titles integrated. We've purchased, you know, often more than one copy if we can, depending on the pricing or if they were ARPA available. But those are in there too. And I think those are great titles to consider for summer reading as well. So when you think about the Palace Project app and the EGO-CT program, the Connecticut State Library is providing over 17,000 items. And these are not just the titles we've been talking about. This is, you know, every subject area that you could consider, biography, you know, for adults and for kids, Connecticut authors we buy, self-help, maker and DIY, all sorts of career resources are included here. So the vendors we use are Baker and Taylor. We have 2,762 items that we purchased from them. BiblioBoard, we have 1,163 items. And the nice thing about the BiblioBoard collection is it's all simultaneous use, perpetual ownership. So we get real value for the expenditures there. And then, of course, the Palace Marketplace, which is Digital Public Library of America, we purchased 2,731 items. Now, our partnership with the Digital Public Library of America gives us access to the open bookshelf, and there are 10,837 items that are collected there and are available. Those are available for download, and there are no loan periods associated with them. So that's a nice option to share with your patrons as well. So a lot of content. We continually are purchasing new titles. If you happen to come across a title that we don't have, and it's something that your library wanted to use for summer reading, and it's not included in all the other lists, let me know and we'll try to get it for you. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back to Kim and also say, if you have any questions, I would be happy to try to answer them. And also, please note my contact information. If you want to sign up for the Palace Project, please reach out to me and we'll get you set up.
Yes, I dropped the link to the EGO program in the chat, Brad, and so Brad's information is there as well. But are there any questions for Brad for the about the Palace Project? I put a little note in there just in case it wasn't clear. So if your library purchases ebooks and audiobooks for your patrons, they'll have the books that you have purchased, your library or your library consortia, depending on how that's set up. And through the Palace Project, they can access everything that Brad just listed, everything that we are purchasing. So you essentially are developing a completely separate ebook and e-audio collection for your patrons that you are not paying for, that you don't have to worry about the financial expenses and obligations of. And we as library workers know those books are not cheap. They are not at all. So does anyone have any questions for Brad that they can either type in the chat? So I will give a little bit of time for that. Or sometimes it's hard to form a question into type words. So you can unmute as well. And remember, this is adult stuff too. Adults get summer reading programs too, y'all. I know I'm always touting about summer reading and all I know is what happens with kids 18 and under. I don't know what grown-ups do, but these are for adults as well. Scrolling to see if I see any hands. Chrissy. Love
Hi,
it.
me again. I just wanted to make sure that I understood, Brad. You said something about the simultaneous checkouts. Is that within a library system, or does it apply like across the whole state? So like everybody who has the Palace, like it doesn't matter. Like
Right. It's a statewide collection. So
okay.
all the libraries that are signed up for it basically and integrated into it can access the collection, and you sort of compete like we're a single library.
Okay.
But all of your libraries, your patrons can access the content. And, you know, like I said, for the all CT reads, there's a pretty robust amount of titles and copies. So I think that'll be something that'll work out pretty well for folks. And especially because it's going to go over the whole summer, you know, so it's multi-month.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You got it.
Yes. So I think, like, you know, if I wanted to read Transcendent Kingdom and you, Chrissy, wanted to read Transcendent Kingdom and Brad wanted to read, and, you know, we could all be reading that at the same time and, like, you know, having really robust email conversations about whatever the character is doing at the same time. Gotta love it. All right, I'm gonna keep on scrolling. Do I see any little hands? Any little hands? No, no. We're doing a great job then. That's what I hear. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't see any more little hands. Again, at any point, you can drop a question for any of us into the chat. Do not let anything stop you from that. So we are going to turn this conversation over to our newest DLD edition, Matt Giza, who is going to talk to you about the Library for the Blind services that are available, and because the name's a little deceiving. So go ahead, Matt. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim. Can people just give me a thumbs up or vocal confirmation you can see my screen? Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so as Kim said, my name is Matt Giza, and I am the newest addition to the DLD team. I am the director of the Connecticut State Library for the Blind, as well as the Middletown Library Service Center. So it's good to be with you this afternoon. And this afternoon, we're really focusing on at least for my portion of the talk, on the State Library for the Blind. As Kim said, there's probably far more patrons than you realize might be able to take advantage of our resources. So my focus today is really just give you a quick overview of what the Library for the Blind is, the types of resources that are available, the eligibility, and how people could get started with using the service. So you'll hear me refer to LBPH throughout the presentation. That refers to the Connecticut State Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. So LBPH is just our shortened form. As mentioned, we're part of the state's Division of Library Development, and we are used to be based in Rocky Hill, but we are now based at the Middletown Library Service Center with the rest of the DLD team. The LBPH service is really an example, a great example of a federal-state partnership. Our federal partner is the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, and that is part of the Library of Congress. So the Connecticut LBPH is one of several regional libraries throughout the NLS network of libraries. So this spreads across the United States. Excuse me. In terms of eligibility, our library can serve residents from Connecticut who meet one of the following criteria. So on the screen, there are individuals who are blind or have a visual impairment are eligible. People who have a perceptual or reading disability are also eligible, and individuals who have a physical disability that makes it hard for them to interact with print books. So when you kind of step back from this, what this means is that anyone who has a print disability is essentially eligible for LBPH service. So the people need not solely have a visual impairment or blindness. There can be other forms of perceptual and reading disabilities or print disabilities. So that really does expand the eligibility of this service to many more patrons than I think we often realize. Taking a look at the collection, this collection that we make available to our residents is essentially the NLS, the National Library Service for the Blind's collection. They produce most of the books. It's not commercial audiobooks. They actually have in-house book production team who has with narrators and so forth. So they are producing each month, new audiobooks and other Braille books as well. The collection sort of spans nonfiction and fiction, all the literary genres you would expect to find. Definitely a special emphasis on bestsellers, and they also make magazines available. You'll find titles that span from the children's audience all the way through adult. And though English is sort of the primary language for most of the titles, there is a growing list of titles available in Spanish as well as other languages, thanks to the Marrakesh Treaty, which has now really expanded the NLS's ability to get audiobooks in other languages besides English. The two primary formats that you'll find materials from LBPH are Braille. They make print and electronic Braille books available, as well as magazines. And then NLS calls audiobooks talking books. So the other format, as I just mentioned, is audio, and that is referred to in the NLS network as talking books, and both books and magazines are available. NLS has some of their own equipment too that they make available to patrons free of charge. So all of the resources that I'm going to be talking about today are free to all eligible patrons. And in terms of delivery, we're sort of almost mostly really a remote delivery service. So we rely on the US mail and download to deliver items to patrons. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So taking the audio example first, if we look at the delivery by the US Postal Service for audiobooks, what that ends up being is patrons are assigned what you see on your screen, a digital talking book machine. This is the black rectangular box that you see in the photograph. It's about the size of a 300 to 400 page book in both size and thickness. And what that is paired with is what's known as a talking book cartridge. And if on the screen, there's a blue talking book cartridge container. This is the mailing container that the cartridge is sent in, and sitting inside it is a white cartridge. This is essentially a USB cartridge. So it's relying on USB technology in order to play and interact with the digital talking book machine. The cartridges are about the size of a credit card and about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick. So they're not too large, but also not too small. The cartridge is inserted into the front of that player, and people can immediately begin to interact and start listening to titles. We are now in a place where every cartridge that is sent to a patron is customized to that patron. We can add from about 1 to 12 books onto a single cartridge. And many of our patrons will have up to 3 or 4 cartridges out at a time. So many patrons, if they take full advantage of having, 6 to 10 titles on a cartridge, are looking at somewhere around 20 to 30 titles that they can have checked out from LBPH at one time. The other way that people can interact with audio titles from the LBPH and the NLS is through a service called Bard. That's what is now on the right side of your screen. We're looking at an image of a hand holding a smartphone with the Bard mobile app up on the screen. And Bard stands for Braille and Audio Reading Download. And so the NLS titles, both in Braille and the audio titles, are available to download either to your personal computer or to the mobile device, like a smartphone or a tablet. There is a Bard mobile app that users install on that mobile device. And once that's installed and you enter your registration information, then patrons can begin downloading and using those materials. For Braille, delivery is by U.S. Postal Service. So print Braille books come to patrons in the mail to their place of residence, just like the talking books do. And then Braille is also available in e-Braille format, so electronic Braille, and also through the Bard service, both through either downloading it on your personal computer or onto your mobile device. You can go ahead and download Braille titles, and in most cases, they'll need to be paired with a Braille e-reader. That is what is displayed on the screen, and I'll hold one up here. I've got one that's kind of hard to see. This is a very new device to the NLS that they just developed and released this after going through a pilot program. But what this essentially is an electronic Braille display. There are Braille cells that are refreshable. So as a user reads line by line of text, they can use panning keys to basically finish their line of text, go on to the next line with the panning key, and the display refreshes with that new line of text. So it's also, as you may have seen, I've got a USB device. So you can pair this with your smartphone, like an iPhone. You can use a USB stick to load books onto the device, or there's a couple of other things they're working on, like Bluetooth connectivity and things like that for all of those devices. So looking quickly at the application process, if someone believes they're eligible for the application, you can direct them to individual applications. They would fill that out and have it certified. That there is a portion of the application where somebody has to sign off as certifying it. Historically, this is where a lot of people were limited in their access to the service because it had to be certified by a medical professional. NLS has now relaxed those eligibility requirements, and it's now no longer medical professionals, but also social and public officials and workers and employees. So most employees of school districts can now sign off. Librarians are specifically listed as people who can certify these applications. So if you happen to encounter one of these individual applications for LBPH service or NLS service, and somebody says, can you please certify it? As a librarian, you are eligible to certify if you feel comfortable doing that. After the application is completed and certified, it's mailed, emailed, or faxed to LBPH. We review it, assuming everybody, the person meets the application and eligibility requirements, then we go ahead and begin sending them materials. All of our patrons are paired with a reader's advisor. We have 2 reader's advisors on our staff, and really these are the staff members that interact directly with the patrons and provide them service via phone and email. And we do our best to really customize their reading preferences and profiles using our library management system, so that when patrons call our readers advisors are able to set them up with the type of titles that they're looking for. And just kind of getting close to wrapping up here, but I just wanted to kind of offer a little appeal here. One of the things that we ask libraries to consider doing is, and librarians to consider doing, is share this information with patrons. I hope that you, after seeing the presentation, are thinking that this is now one more of those options in your menu of options that you can present to patrons when you're talking with them about, hey, I'd like to experiment with audiobooks, or I really need to use audiobooks for whatever reason. And if of the course of the conversation you think that they might be eligible, feel free to share this information with them or point them in our direction, and we'll be happy to continue the conversation with them. Other things that we can do to just help you become a little bit more familiar with LBPH is, we can do training sessions if you're kind of interested in seeing the equipment and learning a little bit more about that. We can provide additional information for your staff if you'd like to have the reference and circulation staff or the use services, staff members of your library receive some additional information or training or a demonstration of the equipment and resources. We're happy to come to your library. We're happy to do this virtually. So feel free to reach out to us and have that conversation. And the other thing that is available to libraries is you can complete an institutional application for your library. And what this would allow you to do is receive demonstration equipment that you could showcase somewhere in your library for patrons. Unfortunately, the requirements or sort of the regulations of NLS don't allow you to loan these items directly to the patrons, but they can be used in-house in your library. We can provide you with a digital talking book machine and a few different cartridges with different titles that you could request, and then you'd be able to sort of showcase that equipment for patrons and maybe give them a quick introduction to the equipment. And so there are some libraries that do have institutional applications with us already and are known as deposit collections in our system. I've included some helpful links. We'll be sending all of our slides from today in a post workshop email, so don't worry about trying to get all of this information right now, but know that there's some helpful links, including application information, an outreach request form. So if you'd like to have a conversation with us and have us come to you, feel free to fill out that form and we can get back to you and schedule that. And then finally, I'll close with our contact information. You'll see, if you're familiar with the Middletown Library Service Center, that's the Service Center address as well as LBPH's address, our email, our phone numbers, and you'll have my direct contact as well if you'd like to get in touch with me with any questions that don't arise now. So I'll stop there and thank you for your attention, and I'll be happy to take any questions that people might have about what we just talked about.
Yeah, we had one, and the answer to this might be your second to last slide, but Vanessa asked, are there any pamphlet or paper flyers or pamphlets that'd be available for patrons? Some of your resources I think would be appropriate, but maybe anything to stick on cork boards or anything like that.
Yes, we have a number of different things. So what I would say is feel free to get in touch with me. So either email me or email the general LBPH email address and let us know you're interested in materials, because we have a lot of promotional materials that we'd be happy to send, ranging from 8.5 by 11 sheets that you might be able to put on a bulletin board or something like that, to postcards that are sort of dedicated to specific sort of demographics. So there's a postcard that's produced specifically for student services for NLS and LBPH, for veterans, for seniors, that type of thing. So if you're interested in sort of targeting a particular patron demographic for your library and showcasing that, the NLS resources to that demographic, let us know, and we can talk about what resources we might have and can send you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Vanessa says, great. I also just want to reiterate myself, I wish I'd known about some of these resources when I was still frontline. When I think about the amount of parents, especially during summer reading, right, where it's like read and track your books, and if you read X many books, you get X many beads and all of this. And I remember having patrons and even students tell me, reading's hard for me, I'm dyslexic, you know, or reading's hard for me, I've got learning disabilities. And to be able to offer them not only ebooks through the Palace Project, but to have been able to offer them services, you know, like the ones that Matt just mentioned at LBPH. I mean, like, I wish that I had known this. So I'm really glad to be able to be a part of a panel with you two to share this with others. But, and also for the record, Matt is gonna, well, first of all, me, Brad, and Matt are all gonna be at CLA. If anyone's gonna be there next week, not necessarily for these things that we're talking about, but we're, Brad's gonna be doing a session. Matt's doing a session with our partners from the State Education Resource Center, but we'll also be at the exhibit, the DLD exhibits table. So if anyone is going to be at CLA, you are also what, Matt, I'm like sending you people that you didn't ask for.
Yeah.
But swing
No,
by and
thank you.
talk to Matt.
Please do. Yeah. And we'll have the Braille e-reader and one of the digital talking book machine and some cartridges. So if you're kind of interested in seeing some of these things that I talked about in the slideshow in person, we will have some things that you can explore. And you'll also see our publications. We're going to have a whole menu of publications. So it's a good way to see like, oh yeah, send us some of these. We'd like this specific kind of publication for our library. So please do come to the table.
Yeah, go to the table. It's in like the first row. It's like, I can, if you can't find him, you'll definitely find me. I'll be all, and I'll tell you where he is. But are there any other questions? You know, I mean, feel free to type them in. Our goal today was just to remind you of the plethora of services that are available through the Connecticut State Library, and specifically DLD, and even more specifically us at the Middletown Service Center. And we particularly wanted to bring Matt in because you can't always look at someone and tell that, you know, there's a service that they might need and that can be provided. And the more information that we all have as librarians, we might not be able to envision a time or space where we can use it, but you never know. Like, you might hear one trigger word about a learning disability or a reading disability or you know, arthritis in the fingers making it hard to hold books. Like, you might hear something that you never would have thought, like, oh, like I know who to call for this. And in summers in particular, libraries can see a lot more people than they do in some of the other seasons. So we just wanted to arm you with as many resources and services as possible. And they're super cool. And get the Palace Project. I downloaded it. Brad will buy anything if it's available. So, you know, we're here. Does anyone else have any questions? But for any of us, or even if something we didn't talk about, right? Like, I don't know. There might have been some things we glossed over because we just sort of wanted to give an overview. Chrissy? You're just on my screen. Okay. Oh, let me
You know,
look.
I'll just add about CLA. So we're doing a presentation, EgoCT and the Palace Project app, and two folks from Lyrasis will be there, and they're the ones that have done a lot of the development and the configuration work for Palace Project. So they're really knowledgeable, and there's going to be a demo of the app and some discussion of the Palace Manager. So if you're interested, but you kind of don't, you haven't seen it yet, you can download the app from the App Store or you know, either for Google or for rather for Apple or for Android. It is downloadable. You can download it and take a look at it. There's a whole big collection of materials that are available, you know, in the public domain that you can access now, whether you go through your library or not. Those are no library card needed titles. But if you want to see kind of the demo for this, please feel free to stop by for that. We're going to be Tuesday at 11. Actually, it's 11 a.m. Yeah, get my timing right. So join us if you can.
Okay, and I'm actually going to drop the LibGuides link to the summer reading page into the chat. And I mean, really, like, it just says, when in doubt, look at the FAQ page, because I mean, as we got questions all last summer, I would just like make an FAQ for them. But more specifically is the link to the reports page, which is also where you'll be able to find the data report chart thing that was really fun and a little stressful to make, mostly fun. So just still looking in case anyone's hand is raised or. Okay. Well, I mean, if no one has any questions, we did good. I mean, it's 1:51. I don't want to hold you all for, no good reason except to look at, each other's lovely faces and boxes. Well, I'll be sending out an email after this with all of our contact information. Matt has a lovely sheet of resources, slides and the like. We're all here. We're all available. You can email us. You can call. I promise I'll try to check my voicemails on my work from home days. But like, I'll tell you, for me, you're better off sending an email. I do not check that voicemail very often. I feel really bad about it. But we're here. We're here as you're prepping for the summer. We're here through the summer. We're here spring, winter, fall. Our resources don't go away. There's no time limit. And as you know, we don't charge late fees. So we're here and we hope to work with you all and see some of you at CLA. Maybe find us. We'll be around. All right. And I'll send the recording out too. All right, everybody. Thank you. I hope everyone has a really good weekend, a really rest of their day. It's really windy outside, but it's sunny. So that's good.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you all.